What's the brokest shit you've ever done? Stole cat food from my neighbor because I was flat broke and couldn't buy more. Felt like the lowest I have stooped ever. Just typing this out brought back that feeling of guilt and wretchedness. Take a little pride in knowing you made sure your cat was taken care of, even if times were rough and the situation was weird. Ate a load of bread for a week. That's it. No butter or anything. A $1 loaf of bread lasted me nearly 6 days. I've done this before. It's not that bad if you fill up on water too. Always hungry though. I've done it with white rice too, and sometimes it's necessary to simply go without for a day, just stretch it out. I fell behind on my gas bill and it got shut off in the middle of winter. I did a gym membership special. It was connected to my paycheck, so the money came out before I even got it and would take a shower at the gym before going to work. This was shortly after I had been unemployed, so the gas bill was huge, over $1K. Took a few months to earn up enough to pay it off, but bonus, I lost some weight because I was too embarrassed to just go to the gym for a shower. Upvoted because you worked out just to not look like you were there for the shower. Taken a bag of pennies to a Co-Insta to exchange for $4, which was my food budget for the next 3 days. I didn't need gas as I was too poor to afford a car. I'm very glad that era of my life is behind me. Gave me some very valuable lessons, though. Sat at the bank with my pennies, putting them in rollers for an hour, so I wouldn't have to pony up that percentage Co-Insta takes. I actively stole peanuts from Five Guys. I would go in only when they had a long line, help myself to a large portion of peanuts while in line, make it look like I was highly frustrated with the line, and look exasperated with how long it was taking, and just give up and leave with the free peanuts. The peanuts are free and not for sale. Sorry, I'm outside US and Europe. Someone did that for us too. A friend of my mom's had told a local church how all our money had gone to rent and to get our furnace fixed. One afternoon our doorbell rings. I answer it. No one is there, but there is 2 Rubbermaid tubs in front of our door. One full of food and the other with Christmas presents. This was the day before Christmas Eve and my mom had spent the whole month crying because she couldn't afford to get us gifts. I'm so thankful for that stranger. The true gift was seeing my mom smile for the first time in a long time. I was 13 to 14 when this happened. Things like this remind me that there are good people out there, even if it seems like they're few and far between. I used to hang out in an arcade in a mall and check all the machines for quarters. Once I had $1 in quarters, I would go to the food court and buy a soda. Free refills all day, and I would give the cup to my friend when I decided to leave so she could get drinks too. She would give it to her friend and that would keep going. I would also fill up a 15-gallon water jug at a local church so I could flush the toilet, wash hands, and do dishes. Stove still worked, so I could heat water. The pain of not having working water is underrated. Bathing aside, lugging gallons of buckets of water to flush, and the drinking water gallons, makes you grateful after realizing what you're missing. I used to be able to fit my hands in the old tampon pad dispensers and steal tampons pads, which only cost 25 cents. I called myself the tampon raccoon. Tampoon raccoon. Stole a fried chicken drumstick and put it in my pocket. Then the grease made your pocket transparent and everyone could see your drumstick. Heating cut off one winter in my apartment, so I cranked my oven on, left it open, and slept on the floor of the kitchen in a sleeping bag. Had to do that at my favorite aunt's house. I still loved being there though. Back in 2011 I had to take a job that was about an hour plus commute that only paid like $12 an hour. I was spending somewhere around $200 to $300 a month on gas alone. The day before payday things would get so dire that I wouldn't even have enough money to pay for gas to get home. So I would have to write myself bad checks from my own bank account and deposit them in the ATM. When you deposit checks at the ATM they give you up to $200 before the check is even processed. So, by the time the check would be processed I would have the money in the account, even though you can't actually deposit a check from yourself into the same account. there would be an error, but because the money I used was technically there by the time the error ran, I never got a surcharge or anything. Shut was desperate, though. This blows my mind. When I was done school, with almost 100k in student loans debt, I lived intentionally homeless. First summer was camping in a tent. I owned a tent, bike, toothbrush, and enough clothes. To not make it obvious, I only had like 5 different things for work. It was either get the hell out of debt as fast as possible, or let that anchor drag me down for the rest of my life. And when I was single and young, it was the time I could really go hardcore with that. I bet that works half decently, although I'm sure it's not good enough to recommend on the whole. Skip rent, having rent payments for a few months, and you've suddenly got a decent chunk of change for a young person. Drinking in public is legal in Berlin, where I used to live. We had literally no money, so my friend and I would hang out in the subway station and wait for people to set their empty beer bottles down as they get off on the train. Once we had 5 or so, that was enough in return money to buy a beer, which would last about the amount of time it would take to get 5 more bottles. It was actually a very pleasant way to spend the evening, and completely free. 5 empty bottles equals 1 whole beer. I stole toilet paper from the apartment gym because I couldn't afford any. Shut's expensive, literally. Going to a Mexican restaurant, getting water to drink, and just eating chips and salsa, then pretending to not have my wallet, and leaving before ordering actual food. Used a 10% off coupon on the cheapest thing on the menu. I need that $0.34. Went to Walmart, walked into fitting rooms with a pack of underwear hidden under pants I pretended to try on. Opened pack of unders, and wore them all. Put the pants back, and walked out wearing 5 layers of unders. They probably knew what you were doing, they just didn't want them back. As a kid, no milk, no powdered milk to make, so it was boiling water on a bowl of supermarket brand cornflakes for breakfast. Hey, better than nothing. And for school, pack up a brown sauce, steak sauce, sandwich. That stuff about being happy though we were poor? Bullshit that not poor people tell you to stop you going feudal. As a kid, my mom would encourage us to go for a walk early in the morning. When it was recycling pickup day, we would then raid the aluminum cans from the bins and bring them home before getting ready for school. It was pretty fun and exciting when we hit a jackpot that had obviously had a party the week prior. It was just a B when it was under 40 degrees with just a hoodie. My entire high school existence I was a poor kid, and I made friends with fellow poor kids. If I was lucky, I'd have a pack of Orange Depression crackers to last me from breakfast to dinner. We'd wander the local Kroger checking under machines for coins, so we could buy a .35 generic soda to share amongst 3 or 4 of us. I will go into debt with loans or credit before I ever subject myself to that level of hunger and helplessness again. Call in sick on Thursday because I only had enough gas money to make a one-way trip to work on Friday, which was payday. Decisions. I used to check the change slot of public phones to see if anyone left their change behind. That was a long time ago. I worked on payphones and would keep the change that fell into the guts and was never counted. I made hamburger helper without the hamburger. Did you get the helper? We were very poor when I was a child. I have 3 siblings and my dad raised us on his own. Thankfully, the UK's benefits system was more supportive at that time and my dad was unbelievable frugal, so we never starved or wanted for food, however low quality, but Christmas was always a struggle. One year there was a knock at the door. I answered it. I must have been about 6. There was an old guy dressed as Santa with a big box of presents for us all. Simple things like coloring books and pencils, dolls, and toys cars. It was amazing. I genuinely thought it was Santa. My dad had no clue who it was. Turns out an elderly neighbor had arranged for a friend to dress up as Santa to give us gifts, knowing my dad wouldn't be too proud to accept them from Santa. It's one of my most enduring happy memories. All thanks to Maggie, our neighbor. Thanks Maggie. Edit. We lived entirely on benefits. When I was 12, my dad was in the hospital for a while, so I went to the post office to collect his benefits with my friend, whose family was significantly better off than mine. My dad got housing benefit, income support and child benefit for 4 kids. It worked out to £96.50 a week to live on. We didn't have to pay rent or property taxes. I'll never forget the look forward dawning realization and horror on my friend's face as she realized how little we lived off. I however was pleasantly surprised it was that much. I remember thinking, that was loads at the time. 1997. That's so sweet. When I was probably around 5 and my brother was 2ish, my mom used to have to choose between feeding herself or feeding us. We were always that broke, and she always chose us. One of my most vivid memories of my first childhood apartment is someone dressed as Santa and bringing small toys and candy canes to us during Christmas. I don't know how they afforded to do such a thing, seeing as everyone in that apartment complex was as bad off as we were, but this neighbor totally made our Christmas. Hid in the train bathroom till the conductor passed. Tom Hanks wants to know your location. I found all of the items I purchased from Walmart that were unused still in packages. I returned them for store credit so I could purchase groceries. Couldn't afford milk. Thought I could turn my muesli into porridge with boiling water. Accidentally created glue with raisins. The German version of food to repair your walls with. Shut, this is a long list lol. I once went into a local bank and pulled the last $0.50 left in my account in order to catch a bus. I wouldn't call it broke, just generally sad, but I ate nothing but a plate of microwave french fries for dinner. I don't know why, but there is something so extremely depressing and sad about sitting in your kitchen alone at 8 PM eating microwaved, disgusting french fries and thinking about your place in the universe. I was hungry at school, so I used paper clips and pencils to make a stick thing to steal snacks out of the school vending machine. Mac, go over here. Grabbed the 24-count box of ramen noodles from the top shelf at Walmart, the ones they use to restock the singles, and use self-checkout. The UPC on the box is the same as on the individuals. Also, Captain D's and Long John Silver's give you free crunches. I've eaten more free crunches than I'm willing to admit. Edit. Thanks for the silver player. Gonna go grab some crunches to commemorate. That is a great ramen scam. I used to stand at the bar, and when a guy ordered I'd be like, and what are you getting for me? And they'd usually be like, and whatever she wants. It's weak, but it got me drinks. 1 glass of your finest tap water for the lady. Rolling leftover tobacco out of smoked cigarettes to roll a new one. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Walked through the whole town, 1,5-hour journey at 1 AM, just so I didn't have to pay for taxi. You have a good life, D. I made green bean casserole in the microwave one time with a can of green beans and a can of cream of mushroom soup. It cost me $1.32. How was it? Steal quarters out of my uncle's huge change jar to buy food. I don't think he ever noticed, but it's still one of those things that makes me jerk awake in a cold sweat almost 10 years later. Many kids do that to play arcade games. Our coins is full of rare silver coin finds in circulation that are clearly a clueless kid spending dad's collection or a desperate person spending a silver dollar on gas. I wouldn't lose any sleep over trying to feed yourself. Didn't eat anything but water and free hot chocolate at work for 2 days until payday. I'm feeling that I didn't budget correctly as a much younger man, and I had no money or food until that next payday. So I skipped 3 or 4 meals. God dang, when I finally got paid and I made that box of rice pilaf, delicious. I had to draw my dinner once. What does this mean? My ex-fiance and I used to share a $0.79 can of green beans or carrots for a meal. I also used to walk along rows of parking meters picking up any spare change I could find. Ate from the waste food dumpster at McD's. It is only for food that sat under the heat lamps for too long, all in packaging. Don't forget to like this video and follow this channel to hear more Editception.